Okay. Okay, so this is the continuation of chapter 24 of the Eloquent Ruby. So I'm going to go ahead and share this document again. Okay, so in the last section, we were talking about uh, overriding the public and private nature of the different methods. In other languages, if you declare a method to be private, you cannot change it again to be public. Or in some other part of the code, you can't just open it up uh, and modify the privacy settings. And you definitely can't just remove the methods. But in Ruby, you can do that. If you redeclare the document class, you can make the method private, you can make the method public, or you can remove the method entirely. Okay. Um, in the wild, where can we see that? Well, we can see that in the path name class. The authors of the path name class decided that they were going to. Path name was very, very big. It's a huge class. So, in order to make it a little bit more digestible, they split it up apparently into nine separate pieces, uh, and each piece is dedicated to a different logical part of the code. Um, to my mind, they could have also just renamed those parts, given those parts different class names, and split up the code that way. Um, but I guess to make the API a bit more unified, um, they did it in one class name. And so all the code is in this huge class that is split up probably into different files. It doesn't mention the file thing here, but I imagine it's if it's that big and needed to be split up that much, that it would be easier to find in different files. But it could be in the same very big file. Okay, so yeah, all told, path name is broken up into nine separate bits and put back together courtesy of monkey patching, right? Um, the string, okay, so we're done with the path name example. Now we're looking at the string class. Active support, which is part of the Ruby on Rails active active record, active naming convention classes. Um, it opens up a string and it adds this method called blank. And the method called blank is just doing some matching here to check to see if the string is all blank white space. Another method that active support adds is this method called squish, which basically takes a whole bunch of white spaces and squishes it down so that it produces just a single white space. Um, the way so the active support it lives so the active support has different modules. It has the active support module, and within that one, it has core extensions. Within that module, it has string, and within that, it has filters. And that's where the definition of that squish method is held. And then when you want to use it, uh, it you open up the class string and then include that module into that string class so that it loads the squish method. So previously, we've seen examples of opening up like well, path name, for instance. You open up the class path name and redefine methods within it. Um, that's done if you are just opening up a class one class a single time and redefining some of the methods in there. The reason that this is different, the reason that we're including a module instead of just defining this squish code directly in here in the redeclaration of the string class, because that too that would also work. I mean, this is not a lot of code. It's 3 lines of code in this method. We could just include those 3 lines of code here. But what happens is that because we have this module here, it means that we can reuse it in other places as well, if we wanted to do so. So if we were planning to put it in the string class and then some other class and then some other class that we've defined and we wanted those filters, well, great. We have a method that can do that kind of filtering. Um, yeah, so Active Record also makes a number of changes to the array class. So array.split, make an array, 1 letter per entry. So array.first, array.second, array.third. It has, you can, instead of the bracket syntax to get the 0th element, you can, you can say, uh, you can define, you can call this first method to get the first character in that array. Okay, so oh, I actually didn't know when it stopped. So it stops at the 5th item with one exception. You can ask for the 42nd element of the array, 42. Uh, do you get that reference? Do you know why there's a 42?
No, I don't.
In the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there's a oh, it's a long story, but to to make it pretty short, they ask uh, a very very smart computer the meaning to or the question to life, the universe, and everything, and the big smart computer tells them, "Oh, it's 42."
Oh, I've heard of the book. I haven't read it though, but I've heard of, yeah, the title is familiar.
Oh, well, sorry to spoil it for you, but
No, it's
the
fine.
the the answer to the big question of the universe, of life, the meaning, and everything is 42. So there you go. And so you can find it in a bunch of places. That's why 42 is special.
Okay.
Okay, so the dangers of monkey patching. So there's not really any real danger in what path name does, which was to split the construction of the path name class into 9 separate pieces. So it's fine. You can do that. That's your choice. The riskier bit is adding a brand new method to a class, like blank or squish. And that's just, because Rails is a library that's going to be used for other people. It means that other people can also define their own squish or blank methods and then accidentally override some of the methods that the library defined. But that's not a big that's not such a huge concern, as long as you're adding new methods to, let's say, the string class. It's not a big deal. Um, it's a reasonably safe thing to do. Um, there's not much of a chance of collision, but it's something to consider. And if you're debugging some problem, well, you that might be the cause of the problem. Okay. Next is in our lineup of escalating danger is patching some application class, the way we did when we fixed average word length on the method document. Here we're getting involved in the central mechanism of the class. So if So if a method already exists and we're changing the way that method works, then there could be problems because ultimately, other developers might not know that you've monkey patched it, and all of a sudden it works very, very different from what they expected. You might have introduced a bug in your code in the way it works, so that you introduce that divide by zero error that we saw earlier that you didn't think of, and all of a sudden people are getting not a number errors when they don't expect it. Um, yeah. So okay, that was in that was overriding methods in a class that we control. Okay. The biggest danger in monkey patching arises when you start messing with the primary mechanism of some crucial class. So if we are starting to override methods on string that already exist, now that's even worse because it's not just our code, the code that we wrote, that we have to worry about. Now we have to worry about the underlying library uh, staying stable. Um, And if you can't trust that the underlying library does what it's supposed to do, that could introduce a whole lot of bugs, and it's a lot harder to diagnose because are you really going to look at the string plus method if you're trying to debug code? Like, you don't expect that the plus method is going to do something weird or uh, different than any other string plus call. Okay. Yeah, so that's it. Like monkey patching is something that is super powerful. It can be used to change the behavior of classes on the fly. That gives you a lot of power, but it is also pretty dangerous and could end up being a source of problems in your code.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Nelson, I have a question.
Yeah.
In chapter 23, we looked at overriding method missing and defining a method missing class inside a method missing method inside the formulator class. And I think even that applied to the chapter that dealt with delegating. We basically override the usual missing method class and then we define our own method missing class.
Yeah.
So my question is, does that qualify as monkey patching as well? Or it only applies to this case of the classes that we've looked at in chapter 24?
No, in common parlance, you don't really call that monkey patching, although it is, it is changing the behavior of your class.
Yeah.
It's not really the same thing. Um, because the way you work with it is different. Like you're overriding the method missing class, sorry, you're overriding the method missing method.
Yeah.
Um, in every other case, you're not touching method missing. Um, so we don't call it that. We have a different word for it because it feels different to work to monkey patch methods on the class versus to deal with the case where a method doesn't exist.
Oh, so what I'm getting from your explanation is that if if I change the actual method missing method that comes with Ruby, that is what qualifies as monkey patching, not just overriding it. Overriding the method doesn't count as monkey patching, but if I change the actual method missing class that comes with Ruby, that is what is called monkey patching. Is that the case?
Um, okay. The this is just It's the same. You're right that it's the same sort of concept. And so why don't we use the same word for it? Um, and it's you're right that it is a similar sort of concept, but we do use a different word for these things, even though functionally we are saying, okay, I'm gonna override the behavior of this thing called of this method called method missing, and what I'm doing is I'm defining my own version of method missing. It's not we it's subtly different because we're saying, okay, when methods exist, I'm gonna patch, like I'm gonna change something that already exists. So I'm gonna call that monkey patching. And I have a word for that that is different. I'm going to call that monkey patching because that method already exists, and I'm going to patch it to do something different. The method missing thing, yeah, we're doing more or less the same thing, with the subtle difference being that, like, well, what am I patching? There's nothing to patch. That's the whole point. Method missing is an operation that's done when you can't find the method. And so, even though, yes, we're redefining a method name that already exists, it's not, we don't use the same terminology because we're capturing the information about this only applying when we can't find the method at all in our class.
Okay, okay. Thank you for the clarification. So I think that's pretty much it. Does code that you thought you said was bugging you in some way? I don't know if it was at the start of chapter 24, 23, 24.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was the string. And actually, yeah, they actually covered it here, and I forgot they had covered it where instead of redeclaring um, or rewriting the initial, like, whatever plus the plus operation does, instead of redefining it here, we're going to instead capture it in an alias. So we capture that old behavior of the plus method in an alias and then call that alias here in our code. So if we're adding to the string to a document, we do this code. If not, I don't have to redefine all the text. I just call the old alias that I've captured. And I actually forgot that the book covered this already because I was looking at it and I was thinking to myself, well, we should do that.
Yeah, I think that's it really. We've covered these two chapters, so yeah, two more chapters next Friday. And unless Nelson, there's something you want to add.
No, no, we're good. So it's one, two, three, four, five, six, seven chapters left.
Yeah, yeah. I can't wait to start a new book. You said you want us to do, is it called Ruby under a microscope?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think